Alright, just making some mental notes of some of the bolts I left hanging. And it's time to get it opened up, see where we're at. Oil pressure sensors there. This bracket goes like this, and that bolt's threaded right there. I believe that was for a clamp for that harness. Yeah, we used it for that, but that's why I want to keep track of right where the stuff's at. Then we can pull them off, but yeah, so let's see. Here's the initial. Here's the beginning of organization. These are a little dirty. So I'll parts washer these. Parts washer this. So disassembly is pretty uneventful. This is the puller that I needed to set up to pull that balancer, like a 3-jaw, and it grabs those little ears right there. Overall looked pretty good. It looks a little rough down in the pistons, but as far as on the heads go, it was pretty clean. So that's a bit of a testament to the Walmart Super Tech I've been running for the past 50,000 miles. And then I'm actually going to move, this is the aftermarket cam that's going to go in. So let me just carefully move this over. It's kind of going through my rebuild kit here. So if you take a look, when I pull this stuff out, I want to just organize it really nice and neat. I did start to clean these push rods. I cleaned some of this stuff. I'm just doing that in this parts washer, kind of just a simple rough cleanup. Those lifters are going to be replaced anyway, so it's not a real big deal, but I still like to lay them out in the order I removed them. So let's say I'm looking at this lifter and I find it has a problem. And if this was the front of the engine, I would know to go 3 holes back, and I would be inspecting down here, looking at the cam, looking for wear, looking for, you know, what damage it may have caused. Now in this case, I'm replacing that cam, but if I wasn't, I would still say, you know, that cam's got a fair amount of wear on the lobes. So I probably really need to do a cam anyway. And then with, if you look at these push rods that are cleaned, and these are a lot darker, that's because they haven't been put through the parts washer yet. You know, so although I really did maintain this, it's 180,000 miles, so there's some wear. You know, there's some deposits and stuff. So, you know, I'm looking at all this. When I was pulling this apart, I noticed there's some exhaust manifold bolts broke off in the head, so I've got a couple of those to extract. There was one on that one, there's one here, and one down there, so there's 3 total. I'm also going to pull this coolant temperature sensor and really just go through and clean this. So this head I actually already swung in the parts washer and clean it most of the way. I'm going to probably weld onto these and get these extracted, and then I may actually hot tank the heads. I'm debating whether or not I'm going to pull the valves and stuff apart. I'm spoiled on this one because I know it didn't have a misfire and it was running well. So if I do go into those valves, it'll be more as a maintenance. But for now, it's really just disassembling, keeping everything really clean and organized. Clean and organized. Some of the bigger parts I'll put away, and just keeping a lot of bench space open, and I got my parts organizers there. So it's time to, I got the upper end opened up, it's time to get in the lower end. You can see, I mean, it looks like 180,000. So it definitely could use a little love. I would attribute a lot of that carbon buildup to just probably some oil consumption, you know, due to probably ring wear and valve guide seals. So a big part of this is tear down and visual inspection. And then the next thing I'm going to come do is actually precision measurement inspection. So like, for example, you know, I could roll a push rod and see if it has a little bit of a lump to it or if it's smooth. That's going to tell me if it's bent. I can move these rocker arms. I can inspect for wear on the rocker arms. The lifters, generally, because they have the you know, hydraulic action, there's a seal and a bore in there. These really should be replaced. And then what I'll really need to do on the heads is at least pull some valves out and measure the valve stems and the valve guides to see if there's excessive wear. And if there's excessive wear, then, you know, I'll address it. And if there's wear that's within spec, then I'm probably going to clean it up and put it back together. So at this point, just clean, neat, and organized. So this setup's a little janky, but I put together a 2-jaw puller to try to pull this sprocket and also oil pump drive because I got a new one. You know, it's chain and sprocket wears, chain and sprocket should be replaced. But I couldn't pull this sucker, and I'm sure there's an SST, but this 2-jaw would try to pop open and kept popping off. So I squeezed it on there and I ran a doubled up hose clamp around it, tightened it up, and this is working sweet. Check it out. There you go. So I'm actually gonna catch that right, not just drop it. So now that's off. Just figured I'd share that. You know, there's a right way to do it, and there's a way to do it that'll work. And like, for example, you don't want to plunge the puller into the crank and mess something up. So I cheated and I tried a bolt at first, but the bolt was a little bit too long. So I actually just bottomed a valve out in there. So a little janky, but basically I'm just inspecting the parts as I go. And like, for example, the oil pump I could take apart and inspect, but this was my truck and it had good oil pressure. So I know this oil pump's going to be good, but I'm going to replace it. That's kind of the standard. So quite a bit more things to clean, but I also did pull one piston out. I pulled cylinder number 1 out. I inspected this cylinder wall. It definitely needs a hone, but if you look at that wall, you notice up on the right, it's still got a little bit more cross hatching, but down here, it doesn't have any cross hatching. So that's pretty typical. The piston is going to wear in this, the cylinder is going to wear in this direction because that's the thrust forces from the piston rocking in the bore. It doesn't normally wear in this direction, but you know, ultimately what I need to know, cylinder measurements. So this is a tool that anybody in my class will know how to use. I'm going to go ahead and just give you a quick sample. So I wanted to know how my cylinders were. So I've already set this up, and basically if you look in this direction, I'm getting it almost to 0. So that number right there is about a 1/2 thousandth, right? And then in this direction, I'm going to get it all the way. I can get it all the way to 0. Well, actually, shoot, I moved it. Alright, I got it set back up. No, I'm getting a little bit more than I thought. Dang it. Okay, I must have bumped it. Alright, I gotta play with this for a second. I had a little bit of a moment. So if you look right there, it's just over 1,000th positive. And I did a quick check on these other cylinders, and I haven't even pulled the pistons out of all of them. But if I get it up here, look, it's about it's pretty much about 1.5 thousandths to 1, you know, depending on exactly where I'm at. So these are all about 1,000th of an inch over spec, and then in the thrust direction, I'm actually a little tighter, or I'm just a little bit more worn by about 1,000th. So that's right where I want it. Basically, I know that cylinder is 1,000th out around. Oops. That one is actually almost round, almost perfectly round. So far, just as a spot check, it's looking like I'm not going to have to bore this. So when I get all the pistons out, I'm going to go through and be a little bit more careful and do a precise measurement. So I'm not exactly sure what this overall measurement is, but as far as knowing the thrust to the axial to tell if it's out around, it's it's within 1/1000th of an inch, and the max is typically 2/1000ths. So I'm pretty sure these cylinders are going to be just honed, but I'll get a little bit further in. The reason I just kind of wanted to do a quick check is because if I find something major, I need to know right now. So like that one's, well, that one's was right about, keep slipping it out. It's hard to do on the phone. Yeah, that one's about 1/1000th over. And then this way, yeah, that cylinder is actually round. So they don't normally wear at the bottom. They normally wear just a little bit down from the top. So I'm pretty sure that these are going to be a go, but I still have to still have to really pull the mains and the rods and inspect those and make sure I don't really see any issue. And then I'll pretty much know what I've got. And then I'll start the big process of cleaning and prepping and extracting those bolts, you know, and probably going to spend like a good half a day cleaning all these parts before I'm actually ready for reassembly. And the other thing I did was when I inspected these pistons, I laid the new piston there and I measured from the center of the piston pin to the, you know, to essentially the top of the piston. The new pistons are a little shorter, and I had read that on these piston, the Engine Tech pistons, that a lot of times they're cut down about, they're set down about 30/1000ths, and that's to accommodate refinishing the head 30/1000ths, 20 to 30/1000ths. So I'm going to do a little bit more measurement, and I don't want to drop compression. So if that piston is a little less of a flat top, you'd say, right? It's a flat top, but if that piston's a little shorter, I'm losing some compression there, and I don't, if anything, I want to increase the compression. So I'm either going to do one of two things. A, I'm going to get GM 4.8 liter pistons and put those in, or B, I'm going to cut these heads 30/1000ths to restore that compression back to stock. So let me think about that. Got some more inspection to do, but that's what we got so far. All right, here's the bare block. You can see needs a lot of cleaning. I've done some, but it's now going in the sonic cleaner. So this is a cleaning solution. And when it gets lowered down into there, it's going to use ultrasonic vibration to clean any of the passages and everything. Here it goes. Lower it in. Oh, here. Got a few options. Start it. All right, so it's going to run sonic and agitation for 15 minutes, and it's at 165 degrees. So we'll come and see how it looks in a little bit. See, this is the agitation. Clean. Pretty easy to tell which one's been cleaned, huh? New pistons, old pistons. It's warmed up, pretty warm, about 190. Do about 30 seconds and they'll come out like new. Parts are being cleaned. Time to strip the head. Let's get these valves out. Nice and fresh.